Hello, math students. Welcome back to our module on integer exponents and scientific notation. The name of this lesson is Operations with Scientific Notation. The goal for today we will learn how to multiply and divide scientific notation. The question that I want you to think about in the lesson is, what must you do first in the steps to multiplying and dividing numbers in scientific notation? All right, so let's talk about the things to know. What happens when it is time to combine or separate scientific notations? There are specific things you must remember. When you are multiplying or doing multiplication, you use the same rules as the laws of exponents. The steps that you do this in are identify the like terms first, and then keep in mind that the same bases you add the exponents. So when we're looking at combining like terms, you need to look at your terms that you have. So right here I see a decimal number, and right here I see a decimal number. And our two scientific notation numbers are 1 and 5/10 times 10 to the fourth power times 3 and 4/10 times 9, or 10 to the ninth power. So the decimal numbers right there are considered like terms because they both are decimals. The powers are considered like terms because they are both base 10 with exponents. Okay, so the two different types of terms that we have in this math problem are decimals and powers. And you have to remember that we are taking 1 and 5/10 times 10 to the fourth power times 3 and 4/10 times 10 to the ninth power. So now that we know what our terms are, you basically are going to conduct the math operation that it's telling you to do. So the like terms are 1 and 5/10 and 3 and 4/10, and we're supposed to multiply them together. And when you do that, you get 5 and 1/10, or 5 and 10/100ths, and that's the result of multiplying the decimal numbers together. Then you take the powers and you multiply them together. So you're taking 10 to the fourth power times 10 to the ninth power. They have the same base, so we know the base is 10, and we take 4 plus 9 because when you're multiplying the same bases, you add the exponents, and so we would get 10 to the 13th power. So now we're finalizing our last step for multiplying these two scientific notation numbers together, and we write 5 and 1/10 times 10 to the 13th power. And now, boys and girls, you have multiplied two numbers in scientific notation together by following the rules. Identify the like terms, and then remember how to multiply the amounts out. Okay? Now let's look at division. Division is very similar to multiplication. The only difference is the operation. So when you're dividing, use the same rules of the laws of exponents, identify the like terms, figure out what your same bases are, and subtract the exponents. So again, here are the decimal numbers. We have 3 and 7/10 to the 10th, or 3 and 7/10 to the 10th to, okay, let me start again, sorry. 3 and 7/10 times 10 to the fourth power, except we're dividing it by 1 and 8/10 times 10 to the ninth power. So our like terms for this problem are 3 and 7/10 and 1 and 8/10. And then our powers that are like terms are 10 to the fourth power and 10 to the ninth power. So again, because we're dividing, we would divide the decimals by each other. So we have 3 and 7/10 divided by 1 and 8/10. And then over here, we would take 10 to the fourth power divided by 10 to the ninth power. All right, so let's work on the decimal numbers first. And we know that when we're doing division of decimals, that the divisor needs to be a whole number. So what I know is if I multiply both 3 and 7/10 and 1 and 8/10 by 10, then both of those will be whole numbers. So what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. 3 and 7/10 times 10 gives me 37, and 8 and 1/10 times 10 gives me 18. And now I can do the division problem of 37 divided by 18. I know that 18 can go into 37 twice because 18 times 2 is 36. With that 1, bring down the 0, 18 can go into 10 0 times. Bring down another 0. 18 can go into 100 5 times. 18 times 5 is 90, and then what you see is it will be repeating. So the answer to 37 divided by 18, or 3 7/10 divided by 1 8/10, is 2 5/100 repeating. So we have 2 5/100 repeating, which we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So we have 2 1/10 because we're rounding, and this is 5 or higher, so that would become a 1. And then this is already with a leading digit, so I have to now multiply it by taking the division of the powers. We now know that the base is 10, and we subtract the exponents, so we would have 10 to the 4th minus 9 equals 10 to the negative 5th power. So now our number in scientific notation would be 2 1/10 times 10 to the negative 5th power. And so you have just learned how to divide two numbers in scientific notation by combining like terms and dividing them out, and this would be the result that you get from doing that. Okay? So multiplying and dividing scientific notation is actually a very simple process. All right, so what I would like you to do, just to practice on your own without me, is I'm giving you two practice problems. The first practice problem says 2 8/10 times 10 to the 12th power times 3 6/10 times 10 to the 3rd power. So I would like you to look at what we did on the first one and replicate it with this. The second practice problem that I want you to complete is 1 9/10 times 10 to the 4th power divided by 9 1/10 times 10 to the 6th power. So those are the two practice problems that I want you to try on your own, and I'll be looking for them in your notes when we check tomorrow. All right, kiddos, let's go back to our goal for this lesson. Today we will learn how to multiply and divide scientific notation. The question that I asked you at the beginning of the lesson was, what must you do first in the steps to multiplying and dividing numbers by scientific notation? The first step that you need to do is identify your like terms. And that is true when you're multiplying, and that is true when you're dividing. Okay? All right, kiddos, that's all I have for you in this lesson. Talk to you soon. Bye!